There is a dark place, but I'm not going there. No, no, not on my way. There is a dark place, but I'm not going there. No, no, not on my way.
Hi, I'm Jordan.
Sorry. No, I had something in my teeth.
This is only like almost our 50th episode.
I'm sorry. You started talking as I was like making gross mouth sounds, okay? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
One more time.
Aw. Hi, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Lex.
And this is Or Learn Parkour.
It's a podcast about ADHD done by two people who have ADHD. Still.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, we still do.
Still got it.
If that's the only thing that's keeping you tuning into these episodes, again, is just to see whether we still have ADHD.
Your work here's done.
Yep.
For this episode.
Yep.
Anyways.
So yeah, this has been Or Learn Parkour, podcast by...
Okay, well, so if you're anyone else who wants to, hang out with us for an hour and some change, give or take, and, chat with us about really whatever the fuck we want, honestly. This is a pretty free-for-all podcast. We try to keep it within the realm of ADHD and, mental health adjacent things, but we're not doctors, we're not therapists, we're just two adults who have a lot of fancy equipment in a closet. And it's not even really fancy. It's just some, pretty cool equipment in a closet, okay?
It looks fancy. It's mid to low end. We did step up from the Blue Yeti mic, which is a great starter mic. I know some podcast people like to dunk on it, but I'm not going to dunk on it. It served us well.
Oh, yeah.
It just, like me in my infancy, got dropped too many times. So we retired it. Have a great little... Actually, this is great. I'm so glad that you brought this up because this is one of my favorite things about our new mic. And I'm not actually sure if I told you this, but the model is the Perception 420.
Stop. You did not tell me that. That's hilarious.
I think I read it and I went, oh my gosh, I have to tell Lex. And then I went, wait, no. Hold back.
Save it
for the podcast. Yeah,
Save
yeah.
It
is the AKG Perception 420. Got it off of eBay.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty fancy. It's got a lot of components to it. But yeah, it has enabled us to do things a little bit more comfortably in here as well. So it clips onto the table and is significantly higher than the table.
Yeah,
so,
it's on a mic arm.
Yeah. So we have the ability to actually have our laptops out.
And we're sitting up. We're have decent posture.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
Speaking into a microphone that's at mouth level instead of trying to get our mouths both down to the coffee card table we have set up, which is still here and still serving us wonderfully, but
yeah,
the height is helpful.
Yeah, decent posture is very generous for me anyways, because no matter how I would say this is pretty decent posture for me, but it's still just shit awful posture. You'd think for someone who competitively danced a fair amount of my life.
Oh, did you?
You would think, though, that my posture would be so much better. That's the thing. I have to tell people because you wouldn't know otherwise.
I mean, it's got to be in there somewhere, I'm sure, if you decided to. If you put your I was going to say nose to the grindstone, and then I was wrong. Is it spine to the grindstone? And then that was a horrifying mental image, so...
I was going to say also putting your nose to the grindstone. Not really a good posture situation.
Yeah, seemed like you'd have to kind of bend down and get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just hurt.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Where did that phrase come from?
No idea.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay. Well, so, this week on the podcast, we're going to talk about plants after this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
we did have a topic for this one.
Yeah, I mean, we usually have a topic that we're like, we're going to talk about this, and then we usually do talk about it.
Yeah, we get there.
We get there. So we are going to talk about plants and how, again, not doctors, not therapists, we're not professional anythings besides professional idiots, maybe. And we're going to give you just our own personal experience, tips and tricks for how you, yes you, dear audience member, listening right now or reading right now, however you're tuning in, we're going to give you some tips and tricks on what kind of plants are going to be the best for you as a person with ADHD or your friend who has ADHD, your family member who has ADHD, the weird person in your dorm who you want to prank with a plant. I don't know. I mean, maybe don't do that, because what if they were like allergic, or like if it's like one of those cactuses that looks like really fluffy and then they like go to pet it because like you want to pet the cactus.
I feel like that might be on them at that point though, because cacti are famously unpettable. It's kind of their whole deal.
Yeah, but it looks so soft. And I'm just saying, you can get sued for almost anything these days, I feel.
This is true.
So my answer to that would be,
don't do it.
You don't do it. And also, like, the more I think about it, the weirder it is to, like, prank someone with a plant. You're like, man, I fucking hate this dude from work. I'm gonna give him a plant.
I will say, spoiler alert for The Good Place, if you haven't watched it, and it's not really a spoiler because it's a meme, but, like, that scene where he keeps asking Janet for, I think, Eleanor Shellstrop's file, and she keeps handing him... That's funny. That's a funny bit. She keeps handing him cacti. So if it's a prank like that, that could be funny. Like, I remember when I was in community college, my dear friends would tangerine me, and they would just hide, like, tangerines or mandarin oranges, or, like, you know, small
little bag of cuties.
Yeah, cuties. In my things, in the dressing room, at the theater. They would ask other people who weren't in on it to go hand me fruits for like 6 months.
Good.
Yeah.
They were just like, you know what this bitch needs? Protection from scurvy. And that's what I call good friends.
That's true. I have friends who are looking out for your immune system, making sure you get that vitamin C. Those are good friends. We should all be so lucky. Anyways, there are 2 rival explanations as to the origin of the phrase, keep your nose to the grindstone,
oh, Jesus.
According to phrases.org.uk. One is that it comes from the supposed habit of millers who checked that the stones used for grinding cereal weren't overheating, which, fair, would be bad news.
That's a lot of friction. You gotta check.
By putting their nose to the stone in order to smell any burning.
Okay.
That seems suboptimal, but the other is that it comes from the practice of knife grinders when sharpening blades to bend over the stone or even lie flat on their fronts with their faces near the grindstone when holding the blades against the stone. I don't understand what improvement that would be.
Oh, I was imagining, like, so they could look sideways at the blade to see how thin they're getting it.
Okay. I see it now. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's what they meant. That's just how I took it.
That's fair. I've never sharpened a knife. I've only ever honed a knife, so different things.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. For those of you playing along at home who don't know the difference, you've probably never sharpened a knife either. That big steel thing with a handle that's probably in your parents' kitchens, that does not sharpen your knife. It hones the blade. It straightens it. It doesn't actually take any metal off of it.
Get him. Tell him.
We all know by now that I did not go outside nearly enough as a kid, but I did watch a hell of a lot of Food Network, and now it is your problem.
Yeah, Alton Brown just sort of permanently lives inside Jordan's head.
It's true.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Our third roommate, Alton Brown.
You know who the rest of our roommates are besides the 4 cats?
Besides Alton Brown.
Well, and also just a fuck ton of plants.
This is true. We do have a lot of plants in the house.
We have so many plants in the house.
There are definitely people who have more plants, but we have a decent amount of plants.
We're doing what we can.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We do need to plan our annual pilgrimage to the plant store to celebrate spring.
Yes. We do go to the plant store, and by the plant store I vaguely mean, like, we have a collection of plant stores in Chicago that we like to go to.
Mm-hmm.
That we'll just go to any old time, but there's one in particular that's, like, on the opposite end of the city from us, so it's not super easy to get to, and it usually is, like, a whole day trip. Not a day trip, but, like, it's a whole thing.
Make an afternoon of it.
Yeah, and so we make that an annual thing.
Yeah, it's nice because you have to, take... Excuse me. You have to take Lakeshore down there is usually the most efficient way.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to go specifically when it is nice enough to roll the windows down a little bit, listen to some music, go look at plants, get some plants, hop back on Lakeshore, take the long way home, get some boba tea on the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good day.
It's a good day.
I'm looking forward to it.
Same.
But if you too are in the market for plants and would like to fill your home with love and joy and greenery and freshen your air and lift your spirits with plants, but you're going, oh, I have ADHD. I kill plants. I forget about them. I don't know what to do. We're here to help.
Well,
I'm here to help.
Jordan is here to help. Yeah.
Love
Jordan,
you.
No, Jordan is here to help. I am here for moral support and, let's say, so that you don't have to feel any guilt. Because I feel it for all of us who are, the type of people that plants, well, they don't do well in our care,
That's okay. You know what? And it's not cut out for everybody. That's okay if you are just not a plant person.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You don't have to be. I know that has been especially popular lately. I think a lot of people got into indoor gardening and houseplants during the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very trendy and very popular right now. But if you're not a plant person, if you want to just go buy some fake plants, if you're like, actually, fuck no, I hate green things and I don't want them in my house. Weird, but okay. That's fine.
Or, like, if you have, like, allergies or, like, I don't know, allergies is the only excuse I'm coming up with.
If you just don't have time to dedicate to it. Because here's the thing. No matter what I'm about to say, it does require some time. And some people just don't have that. That's totally fine.
And just to say, before anyone at home gets a little cranky, if you're thinking, if Lex can't take care of plants, well, why does Lex have 2 cats? Please don't worry. I have lived with animals my whole life, and it is very different. And I'll say plants don't meow at you if they're hungry.
That's true. And that's something we will get into. Yeah, no, very, very different things. Like, I'm so sorry, Mom. I love you, and I don't mean to put you on blast on the podcast, but does not like taking care of plants, does not enjoy that responsibility, does not seek that out, likes plants plenty, but I know it stresses her out sometimes to be in charge of plants. Sometimes she usually doesn't, trying to...
Just say it. Say it with your whole chest.
I have the greenest thumb in my immediate family.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I love you so much, Mom. I'm so sorry. I love you, Mom. Mom, I love you so much. I'm so sorry.
Well, and if it makes, again, mood. Angela, mood. I love plants. I love having them around. I love the freshness they bring to a space. If I remember that a plant exists, I am happy to water it or add fertilizer, prune it. You know, I love to get all up in a plant's business if that's what it needs. But I have such a hard time remembering to do it.
Yeah.
Is my thing.
Well, and to the point that I was trying to make there, maybe not plants, but like my mom and dad raised 2 children who are still alive and functional.
Full adults now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's weird. Anyways, so it might just not be in everyone's skill set or in everyone's interest, and that's fine. But if it is, all that to say, coming back around to the point of this episode.
Yeah.
Here's our ADHD tip for people who want plants. Don't.
Well, I know. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm setting the bar so that people aren't at home and like, oh my God, listen to these 2 bitches just tell us about how good they are at taking care of plants. Like, blah, blah, blah. No. That's only one of us.
Well, we live together, so that's all we need.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Also, I need to...
Yeah. Need some water, so.
Well, there's nothing in the Zencaster, so I'm just gonna...
That's
Or you said till 3, though, right?
Yeah.
So I'll hang out. Maybe by like 2:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bud.
Hmm?
I said, yeah, bud.
As I sometimes say to the cats, big yawn.
Mm-hmm. I was holding back. I wasn't going to say it.
It's a little bit infantilizing when someone else says it to you, but
yeah.
it was a big yawn.
It was a big yawn. Anyways, who
else needs oxygen?
plants.
Yeah.
That is true. And that's why it's great to have them in your home I don't actually know. I feel like there have been a couple studies that have been like the normal amount of houseplants doesn't actually add like a measurable amount of oxygen to your space.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been a lot of different studies. Some of them have said they are beneficial. Some of them said they aren't. Some of them said they filter air. You know, I'm, as we have said many times before on this podcast, not a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a decent gardener.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have killed plants. It's happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not spotless. Let he who is cast the first stone here. It's not going to be me. But I will tell you the things that have worked for me and some recommendations for the types of plants that I would recommend to somebody who might be worried about their gardening experience or abilities. Like specifically with the things that ADHD people often are or aren't good at in mind. So.
Yeah. Remembering things.
Yeah.
Consistently taking care of said things. Ooh. I mean, the first 2 are just whoppers of obstacles.
Yeah, but luckily, there are some plants that you can kind of forget about.
Oh?
Which is great. So let's start there.
Hell yeah. Follow you on into the garden, Jordan.
Thanks, bro.
The birds are chirping. The flowers smell good. The bees are buzzing.
Oh, I love bees.
Oh, there's a wasp!
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Sorry.
Put it in the freezer.
Oh, God, yeah. The bravest I've ever been.
That was the stupidest shit we've ever done.
The bravest I've ever been.
You were very brave. Neither of us are big fans of wasps. So one time there was a wasp in our house and Lex very bravely trapped it. And then we both were panicking because we don't really have any windows in the house that don't have a screen in them.
Yeah.
So we were like, we don't want to kill it, and we don't know how because it's in like a cup right now. We can't really let it outside unless we want to like run down 3 flights of stairs. What do we do with this wasp? And then I looked online and I read that if it's really cold, wasps will like go dormant. And so we were like, okay, we'll put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
and then we'll kill it so it won't fly away when we open the cups. We put it in the freezer, and then we were worried about the freezer coming open, so we duct taped the freezer shut.
To be fair, our freezer just comes open with, like, a slight breeze.
It does. That's
The
very
door
true.
does not stay shut very easily. So, to be fair, that was a concern.
Yes, I think it was very valid to tape the freezer shut in light of the circumstances, but we sure put ourselves in those circumstances.
Well, what are we supposed to do? Just let the wasp freely carouse about our apartment while the cats actively leap at it?
Yeah,
and agitate it?
I don't know what else we would have done. If anyone else has ideas, let us know.
Yeah.
We do, actually, I wonder, we do have carnivorous plants now. I wonder if they eat wasps.
It's a pretty hefty bug.
It is a pretty hefty bug, but we have a pitcher plant. They got pretty big,
Pretty big gobs.
yeah.
Hmm.
Some mondo gobs, some might say.
Well, one could argue we all have some sort of mondo gob for whatever sort of food we really crave. I don't know where I'm going with this. Tell me about the plants.
Yeah, okay. So, here's my thesis statement.
Oh.
There are 3 categories of plants that I would recommend for people with ADHD who
Okay.
are worried about their plant capabilities. And a 4th bonus category for weirdos like me.
Okay.
Category 1, forget about it plants.
Mm-hmm.
Category 2, actually I should go back. Category 1 is forget about it plants, which includes plants who may need regular work, but it is like regular, like you do it once a week, no matter what kind of thing. So you can set yourself a timer or a reminder kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's not true of a lot of plants because depending on the time of the year, the growing cycle, if they're flowering, what kind of pot they're in, where in the house they're in, it's not like, oh, this needs watering once a week. It's like, oh, this needs watering when it's dry.
Yeah.
So it's not regular. But regular plants and then plants that are regularly able to be abandoned is category 1.
Okay.
Category 2, dramatic plants. And these are motherfuckers who will tell you exactly what they need and you will not be able to miss it. And they'll be fine. They're not going to just die and you'll be like, oh, that plant needed water. I realize that now. But they'll perk back up, but they will tell you when they are thirsty. They will tell you when they are grumpy.
Okay.
Sorry. All good. I'll take a drinky. And number 3, I guess this is adjacent to regular plants, but specifically plants that need like regularly damp soil. So you can pretty much just put it in. There are self-watering pots, globes that you can fill with water and stick in the plant to kind of regularly keep the soil wet.
My plants that I have not killed were the types of plants that could have bulbs. Just to add into the veracity of that statement. Thank you.
There we go. Got some proof. And I know I know that by saying this, there are going to be some plant people who are going to be upset and they're going to be like, no, some plants have to dry out. You can't use bulbs all the time. Those are just for going on vacation. Yeah, we're going to forget to refill them sometimes. The soil will dry out at least once.
Oh, hundo.
It's going to be fine.
100%.
It's going to be fine.
They're fine.
I promise you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are my 3 categories.
Okay.
Dive into the first one.
Take me there.
Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of succulents. Not all of them. I want to be clear. I guess that's kind of the one thing about succulents that I will say.
Sorry, just a side note. If we do move to one of those apartments where the big bedroom's really fucking sunny, I'm so excited to get like cactuses and succulents and plants that we both know I will be so much better at taking care of. Sorry. I've been thinking about that, especially the one on like Montrose, which I haven't heard back from them. I might email them again.
Fair enough.
But sorry.
All good.
Sorry, plants.
Yeah. But just to cover all of our bases here, not all succulents can just be abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just like walk into a store and be like, give me the succulent, it will be fine. But like cacti
Mm-hmm.
in particular are a good one. Like the very traditional, like big lumpy middle with like the points on the outside.
Yeah.
I don't know all of the varieties of them. I know that I have one that's called like a grandmother's cactus. We'll post pictures. This will be a great little opportunity
To show off your plants.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cacti are some of the plants that I feel I am the most, I have the most in common with them, I think.
How so? Tell us.
I hydrate all at once usually. I'm pretty bad at doing it consistently throughout the day. I'm a little prickly,
Okay.
but I still sometimes like to get a little fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe put a flower in my hair.
Mm-hmm.
Usually pink or red.
Mm-hmm.
The colors that I choose to don when I'm feeling a little spicy and excited. Or like yellow and orange.
Also good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see
And
it.
if you just let me sit on a windowsill in the sun for most of the time, I'll probably be pretty happy.
Yeah. Honestly, mood.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also the desert.
Love the desert.
Love the desert.
We're big fans of the desert here.
I'm not a desert-born person at all, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's a nice place. I
You
haven't
don't-
been to a desert yet that I haven't been like, I could kick it here for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to be born there to feel it, you know?
It's
Sometimes the
true.
sand's just in your soul, no matter where you're from.
Yeah, and I guess when you think about it, so little is born in the desert.
Mm-hmm. So cacti.
So cacti.
I have a little cacti planting, and I pop it out of its, like, decorative pot, and I just sit it in a bowl of water, so it sucks up as much water as it needs from the bottom, like, once every couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great.
Yeah.
And they're 30, flirty, and thriving.
Yeah.
So cacti are a good one. We also have a ZZ plant, and that one is a delight. They're cute. The name's fun. If you're into the emo lifestyle, we accept all here. They do have raven ZZ plants.
Yes.
And they are all black, and they're very cool looking.
Yeah.
Um,
That's definitely on my list for sure, because yet again, I have one of those. I have a ZZ plant, and it is a plant that has benefited from periodic bulb action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really one of the ones that you can soak, fill it up with water until it runs through, let it soak in a bowl, bottom water, or butt chug if you prefer.
Yeah.
And then you can forget about it for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you. It's pretty hardy. It'll start going a little yellow at the tips of the leaves when it's ready for some water. But you water it, and then the rest of them are fine.
Yeah.
So that one's a really easy one. And they're just pretty. The leaves are really bright and like waxy, and they're interesting looking.
I feel like they're also easy growers.
Yeah.
Like, they show a lot of progress even if you haven't really been, or you don't feel like you've been putting in work. They kind of just do it on their own. Very independent, the ZZ plant.
Yeah, I think that's a great note too, because there are a lot of plants that I think you can kind of just like soak it once and then forget about it. Like I have it's a type of Hoya. I don't remember the entire name, but it grows these really kind of curly, coily, thick leaves. And it's one of those plants where I literally just hang it up. It sits in my window. I forget about it until I see that the leaves are getting a little bit wrinkly, and then I soak it, and then I forget about it for another couple months. And it's great, and it's happy, but they're super, super slow growers. Like, this plant's probably an inch bigger than when I got it, like, 2 years ago.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oy.
Yeah. So, maybe would not recommend that particular Hoya. But ZZ plants, great. Love them. In that same vein of just, like, set it and literally forget it. Snake plants,
Yeah.
they're charming. You can get them in different colors. Honestly, I pretty much only water ours when I have, like, leftover water from, like, a cup of water that's gotten a little too funky on my dresser, or, like, watering other plants. I'll just dump it in there. They go to town. They grow, like, bonkers.
Yeah.
They propagate super well. You can just, like, cut the top of a leaf off and let it callus over for a day or two, put some rooting hormone on there if you want to get really fancy, but you don't have to. Pop it in a cup of water, and I've gotten like 5 or 6 new little babies off of one cut leaf.
Yeah, well, and that's the kind of plant that you gave me and, like, my cousin, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first ever plant that I got from Jordan was
Yeah.
propagation of
Yeah.
that snake plant.
Yeah. I think any plants you can propagate are kind of nice too, because backup plan, if this all goes to hell in a handbasket, sometimes you can just like cut a leaf off, like a little bit of the part that's not dead yet, and then just start over.
Yeah.
Like that's what's going on with my monsteras back there.
Sorry.
You're
My
good.
back is like being weird.
No, you're good. I don't think this is going to be a super long one, so.
I think I need to stretch it really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, sometimes if you're like have a sore spot and you just like sit in the same position for like too long, your body starts to get to a point where it's like, if you don't do anything,
Yeah.
I'll scream.
Yeah.
And I also need some juice.
No, gotta have some juice.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just literally kind of thinking through the plants in the house and going like, what else should I talk about in this section? But
Fair.
I think that's everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so set it and forget it plants.
Love them.
Also, I think actually that might fall into, no. I'm gonna start that sentence again. Air plants, also a popular one. Because they're in that category of like, they just need something like once a week. That's it. And it's super regular.
Just gonna take these off for now because I'm not on Zencaster.
Yeah.
And my ears are starting to hurt. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being really high maintenance.
No, you're so fine.
I'm just getting in the babysit Mr. Sandwiches.
That's so fair. Okay, sorry. All good. I think I do not have one personally yet, but I would really like to get one at some point. Let me look up what the actual scientific name of this is. Oh, they're called inch plants or wandering dudes.
Wandering dudes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a replacement for a less maybe kind name.
Oh.
But wandering dude, the Tradescantia family. They are beautiful and often come in a lot of bright colors, and they just grow like easy peasy. They're also great propagators was the thought there. So that might be a good one to start with.
Okay.
And I think that actually does lead us into one of the other categories, which is plants that need kind of regular moisture. So you can use a self-watering pot or a globe. That's going to be, like I said, the inch plant. That's going to be terrariums.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plant in a terrarium, you just kind of mist it regularly. I'm not a terrarium expert, but from what I have heard, fairly regular if you get the right plants in there. Right plants in that case will probably depend on your area, the temperature, the amount of light it gets. But once you find those right ones, which I'm sure somebody at your local garden center can help you with, you put it in the thing, you shut the lid, you let it go. I feel like there used to be, I remember seeing these when I was like a kid online, like back at the like advent of online shopping, and it was just like the coolest thing. And it's like a sealed terrarium.
Oh.
And it has plants in it, and it has like bugs and I think like fish sometimes.
Okay, so it's like its own little biome.
Yeah. And so it kind of keeps itself going. I don't know how long, but you know, there's bugs for the fish to eat. There's fish for the plants to eat when they die. There's, you know, water. There's everything you need, I guess.
That's so intense.
So maybe that. maybe we should have just been advertising those. Hey, is there a company who makes those who wants to sponsor the podcast?
Maybe, please.
If you're listening.
I do feel like we could benefit. You know, like, I've been thinking about, like, they have those, like, kid, like, packet. Like, you know, okay, sorry, I'm going to start over.
Okay.
The, like, subscription box trend.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like, they've done a few now that are, like, specifically geared at, like, kids. And they have, like, projects and, like, educational things.
Yeah.
And, like, things like that. I'm sure this exists, and I'm just ignorant of it. But it'd be cool if we had one that was, like, for ADHD adults. Or, like, different, like, just, like, more adult-based versions of, like, fun crafts. Like, things to, like, use your hands and, like, learn something and stay engaged. And I feel like a, like, subscription, like, terrarium.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not a subscription terrarium thing, but a subscription, like, educational thing, I feel like would be the type of subscription box that would include a terrarium at some point.
Yes, I love that. And I think, too, it's kind of the same concept of, like, cooking meal kits. Where, I mean, once packaging gets involved, I guess the sustainability is up for debate. But it is kind of nice to get just the amount of an ingredient that you're going to use. So you don't just have, like, the same jar of pepper jelly sitting in your fridge for, like, 2 years because you bought it for one recipe kind of a thing. But that with craft supplies.
Yeah.
You get just enough for one project. So you don't have to go buy the whole kit. And then you just have scrapbooking supplies and calligraphy supplies and beads and sewing supplies and embroidery thread and
I'm assuming someone has done this before, but if they haven't, well, maybe our production company will take on a new meaning of the word production.
And if they have come up with that before,
take my money.
And
sponsor us.
And sponsor us. Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
This is a win-win-win, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, give us a call.
Everybody wins. Give us a call. Everybody wins. Great slogan for Or Learn Parkour. Make us sound like a fucking, like...
Makes us sound like a lawyer.
Yeah, like a billboard lawyer. You injured? You hurt? You been in an accident? Are you liable? Not today. Not with me. Not with OLP Associates.
And remember what OLP always says. Don't open the door without a warrant. Am I wrong?
No. Unless you live in a state with no knock warrants. In which case, be safe. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So tell me more about plants.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about regularly moist plants.
Yeah.
That's gonna be monsteras. Again, they do like to dry out every so often, but they do like to be damp. They like humidity. African violets.
Yeah, you've just let that thing go before.
Yeah.
And it's like you just set it in a thing of water to butt chug, and like 2 days later it's popping off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's a good one. But yeah, those love self-watering plants. There's actually specific kinds of pots for African violets. They're very cool. They're big and they take a lot of effort, but some palm trees. I shouldn't, actually, never mind. I'm going to cut that part because palm trees are bitches and they're very different from tree to tree.
Yeah.
Let's see. Like pothos and a lot of things in the philodendron family. They like to be pretty consistently damp. We have globes in all of ours and I just refill them every like 2 weeks. They also, especially like I have a heartleaf philodendron that does have to be consistently wet. It will be madder about being dry than it will being wet, but propagates really well. It's been sitting in like a corner of our north-facing living room for like 3 years, and it is a happy little camper. So
yeah, it's just been growing along the whole time.
Sure has. So, yeah, pothos, a lot of the philodendrons. There's some funky philodendrons out there, so I don't want to speak for all of them, but
Funky
generally,
philodendrons.
yeah.
Be a good band name.
Would be a good band name. I feel like that would be a band name from, like, the 70s.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, like, roller disco vibes.
Yeah, and
but
very...
a little bit more, like, atmospheric.
And definitely, like, incredibly queer-coded.
Yes.
Because it's the 70s,
Yeah.
so don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah. Well, some people were forging ahead.
True.
Good for them.
Good for them. Thanks for making me sound like a white comedian.
Hey, Lex, did you know that queer people existed in the 70s?
Oh my god. I'm gay, leave me alone. I'm gay too, stop. Zach, stop.
No, stop. You're gonna get us in trouble.
You're gonna get in trouble.
Lex,
Okay.
Anyways.
So is there one more category of plants, or are there more in the consistent ones?
I mean, let's see. Consistent ones, Marima moss balls. You do have to change the water fairly regularly. And they are a little bit sensitive to where they're placed.
Okay.
That's how I lost my last one, is it just got too much sun and it got funky. But if you have a good place to put it, they're in water. Like,
Yeah. They just live in water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
it's
I
more
guess
like a snow globe than a plant.
that's true. Aquatic plants. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't honestly know a lot about
Just get a
aquatic
fish
plants.
tank.
That's
With
not a
aquatic
plant.
plants. Get a fish tank and put aquatic plants in it.
Fair enough.
And then you can have fish and plants.
You can.
And then you've doubled your workload
Mm-hmm.
and the cost.
Mm-hmm. But now
then
you have a friend.
You have a friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I love fishies.
I do too. There's no way that we could have some at this point.
No, monsters would eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
But we can have plants.
we'd have plants. My boss found a dog that's like 3.5 pounds. It's like a tiny Pomeranian that can't even be registered with like the breed registry because it's too small.
Too small.
Too small. And I was like, it's so cute. And my boss was like, well, you could adopt it. And I look at my boss and I'm like, you have met my cats. And he was like, that's true. They would kill it. And I was like, yeah, those cats would eat that tiny little dog. Like, they would kill it on sight.
Jesus.
They would. It's like
No,
a little fluffy thing.
You're correct, but that's
look at-
bleak.
Look at how they treat the cactus.
They do. They do love kicking the shit out of that cactus. We have a little... This is not a real cactus. It's a toy for cats that has crunchy things in it.
And catnip.
And catnip. And boy, howdy do they love to kick the ever-loving shit out of it.
Yeah, they kick at the bottom of it, like rabbit kick at the bottom of it, while trying to ostensibly, like, decapitate the cactus with their teeth.
Hunting instincts, you know?
Yeah,
Very affects
so
predators.
I don't trust... Specifically, I do not trust the smallest and arguably weakest of them, Pete Wentz, to live peaceably with anything smaller than her, because I am afraid she would immediately murder it. What she has are 3 giant cats absolutely, like, at her heel.
Yeah.
But she has got nothing on any of them.
She's a little princess.
She's Princess Pete, and she rules this house.
It's true.
It's really... I feel so bad. I did not mean to unseat Root Beer from her throne so decisively, so swiftly.
I feel like Root Beer still has, like... If she were going to mount an offense against Pete Wentz, she would win.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling her. Telling her, just suplex this little bitch. Just get her. She's... Like, you've got at least 10 pounds on this cat.
Mm-hmm.
Just thwack her into the ground once or twice. She'll get the idea and stop pushing you around and eating your food.
She's just so chill that she chooses not to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Which is like, Root Beer's such a good cat.
She is such a good cat.
She's too good.
She is the sweetest.
Yeah.
She's the chillest.
She's the chillest.
Yeah. I think
she can't be the
Louis
sweetest.
Louis has cornered the sweetness market.
Okay. Here, let's finish this episode so we can go hang out with our cat.
Yeah.
So the third category, if I'm to understand, based on your earlier setup, is the dramatic plants.
Yes. There are a lot of plants that, if you do not treat them correctly, they will die. There are some plants... Bless you. I'm trying to find my list.
There are some plants.
There are some plants that if you don't take care of them the way that they would like... Oh, I should have said for regularly moist plants, bamboo. Because it also just lives in water.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we have bamboo?
No, it's not very safe for pets.
Oh.
So we would have to hang it somewhere, and we're running out of places to hang things.
Yeah, that's short supply. The hanging spots.
Yeah. 1 second. Holy shit. Oh, yeah, sorry, I derailed us on bamboo. There is also, this would probably be a whole other episode, but there are ways of just growing plants in water instead of dirt. And you can see the water level and through just like how botany works and the material that you put in the water to hold the plant up. It's usually called leca, just like clay balls, and they sort of wick the moisture up and the plant will take it as it needs it. So that's an option. You can grow a whole lot of plants in leca, and a lot of people find it easier because you just keep the water at a certain level. But that's probably a whole other episode.
Yeah, no, that sounds very complicated. But cool and interesting.
Yeah.
And if you're really into that and you feel like talking about it, I'm sure Jordan would love to hear.
Yes, always. But yes, okay. So, dramatic plants that will tell you when they need things. The first one on the list, this is a pretty short list. If you have more on this list, then totally let me know. However, I don't go for this kind of plant because I don't like when they look unhappy.
Yeah.
But the most famous of which are probably Fittonia. And they're...
It has a dramatic name.
It does. It does. I think that those are also nerve plants. Yes.
What does that mean?
That's just another name for it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, Fittonia, or the nerve plant,
Interesting.
is a common house plant. It will wilt and be so incredibly grumpy, so incredibly quickly, but then you water it and it just bounces back.
That's hilarious.
It's wild.
Oh my god.
There's also, I believe, peace lilies are famous for doing the same thing. However, it should be noted, lilies, and I believe peace lilies are in this, not positive, but just in case, lilies are not cat safe whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, just so you know, don't get one of those if you have pets.
I'm looking at Fittonias on Google. Damn, these bitches are dramatic. But they're really pretty. They look like what I wish spinach looked like. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, actually.
Like what spinach looks like in my head.
Yeah. Like when it's growing.
Yeah.
That would be... I think we would live in a beautiful world if that's what spinach looked like. Although, to be honest with you...
Yeah.
I don't know what spinach looks like when it's growing. So, I don't know what to say.
Just, like, the leaves look kind of like spinach leaves, but they got, like, white veins in them.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
It is cool.
And they look really look like spinach leaves that are, like, a part of a salad when they're all wilty. Because they look, like, all floppy.
Yeah. Sometimes they're even pink.
Yeah, I was seeing there's, like, some yellow and pink variations, it looks like.
Yeah.
Interesting plant.
Yeah. They're very cute. They do pretty well with terrariums, if I remember correctly. And this is kind of an offshoot of plants that will tell you what they want, and in a much less fussy way. There are some succulents, like succulents that have leaves, especially, like mother of, like chicks and hens, like a lot of the like really common ones that you can get in the grocery store. And we have a string of hearts plant that is technically a succulent. And a lot of those string of XYZ plants, actually, they're not, you don't, holy smokes. Sorry, too many things in my brain. They're not on a regular watering schedule. However, it's pretty easy to tell when they need watering, so you can add just like checking them to a regular schedule because of this neat little botany thing called turgor pressure, which I won't get into, but it's basically how like the amount of water in a cell causes the cell to like swell up and be like firm. And so when there's not enough water in the cells, they're squishier. So you can take a leaf, and that's how I can tell when our little pink succulent or our string of hearts need watering, is when you can take a leaf, and if it folds, if it's not firm, then it needs water. Before that, it doesn't need water.
Wow.
That also works for our jade plants. That also works for, like I said, other string of XYZ things, like string of pearls. It's fun for the string of hearts because their leaves are kind of heart-shaped, and you fold them up and they make kind of a nice little half circle, or string of turtles. So if you can fold it in half, some people call that the taco test, because if it folds like a tortilla.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like, it just reminds me of like how if you're trying to figure out if an animal is dehydrated, like this specifically something that works well with like short-furred or short-haired animals, like horses, bovine type farm animals. If they're dehydrated, you can usually pinch their skin and it'll stay like ridged up from their body for a minute before it like sinks back down.
Yeah.
Versus if it's very elastic and snaps right back and doesn't stay, then they're hydrated.
Interesting.
It's really good for like if you're riding your horse on like a summer day and you want to make sure that they're not losing too much fluid and, you know, sweating too much. You know, you just, it's like everybody, you just got to make sure you're hydrated. So,
yeah,
you know, when it's hot out, you get dehydrated faster.
That's true. That is very true.
When you're doing physical activity, you get dehydrated faster.
We're just like plants. We all need water.
Yeah. So anyways, just makes me think of that because it also involves like pinching and seeing like the like elasticity or like squishiness of something.
Yeah. Well, gosh, that's... Oh, I forgot about the bonus category.
Oh, yeah.
So the bonus category is what you will see a lot of in our house is plants you can get weird about.
Okay.
We are moving from the ADHD...
Sorry.
All good. Struggles to the ADHD superpower. Just pick a plant and hyperfixate on it.
Oh, okay. I was like, where the fuck is this going?
Just get some weird, interesting plants. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 2 carnivorous plants. We have a pitcher plant. We have a little sundew. Honestly, they're not that hard to take care of. They also butt chug. They do have to have distilled water, though, because they are...
Sensitive,
truly. But they're so interesting, and you can like watch them eat bugs, which is very, very cool.
Chomp chomp, little guys.
Chomp chomp, little guys. And for me, this is, I think maybe I've already talked about this on the dopamine trampoline.
I believe so.
But if not, I'm sure I've talked about it other places. Many of you know that I love orchids.
Yeah.
Have since before I was into really any other houseplants. I remember when I was in high school, one of the schools that I did a program at, for some bizarre reason, they didn't have any gardening related activities going on for the school, but they would host the Southeastern Washington Orchid Society's annual like show and sale. And I think that that's how it started, is they were just there, and they're so interesting looking. There's so much like difference between the different kinds. It's something that I have always been fascinated by and like learning about. And so it's really easy for me to take care of my orchids because it's like a game almost. They're like, how do I win?
Mm-hmm. How do I make my orchids the prettiest, most growing,
yes,
wonderful, beautiful, thriving orchids?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do I get it to bloom?
Mm-hmm.
How do I know all the varieties and collect my favorites like Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
And you're well on your way. We've got so many orchids.
We only have 5.
We only have 5 orchids.
Yeah. One of them's really, really small. I feel like it's only like 4.5 orchids.
Stop. Own up to it. Say it with your whole fucking chest.
We have 4.5 orchids.
No.
We have 5 orchids.
There it is.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
They're beautiful. I'm not complaining. But it is hilarious that you have to have a separate friend come over to take care of the orchids when you're out of town. Because she knows how to take care of orchids. And they are very sensitive little boys. And
they're really not that sensitive. I think I'd just be extra sad if they died.
That too. And I have killed Jordan's plants before while Jordan was out of town. So it's like, better not risk it.
You know, it happens to the best of us. Like I said, I've lost plants before.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna happen.
But I don't want to be the one to do that to your orchids.
Fair. I appreciate that you don't kill my orchids.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that is one other thing that I would say, and I guess that is one other thing that I would just throw in here, is you can pay the ADHD tax upfront with plants in a couple ways. If you are just starting on your plant journey, it's really tempting to go buy like the smallest little one and be like, well, I don't want to spend a ton of money on this. I'm not into it yet. I don't know. And so don't get me wrong. Don't go buy like the biggest, most expensive one. If you don't know if you can take care of a plant, don't buy a $100 plant.
Mm-hmm.
But get a mid-size one.
Something that's already got its legs under it.
Yes. It's going to adjust to, no matter how green of a thumb you have, all plants are going to get grumpy when they transition, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And a little more mature plant is going to weather that a little bit better. It's going to have a little bit more bounce room when it's unhappy, you know, because if you have a plant that has one leaf and that leaf dies, you're fucked.
Yeah.
There's no way for that plant to photosynthesize now. Mm-hmm. But if you have a plant with 10 leaves and you lose half of them, you can probably still make it work.
Yeah.
So start medium.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go big. You don't have to go home. Start medium.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Honestly, that's what I've got for plants.
Nice. Thank you.
I will maybe think of other things and share them on the Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I might forget to do that.
Yeah.
So, no guarantees.
Yeah. If anyone's curious as to what my plant is, because I do have one, but the problem is that as much as I've read about how to take care of them, and despite how much I like the way they look, I have killed one now. Because I forgot about it. So
Ferns
I'm going to work.
Are tough. Ferns are needy.
Yeah, so it's the fern.
Mm-hmm.
All types.
Mm-hmm.
Love them all. But we still have one fern, and I feel like that
We have
fern.
2.
Well, I have one fern.
Ah, yes.
So I still have one fern, and I would argue that fern falls right within the last piece of advice that you threw out there, which was go medium, and that I got a fern that. Like, I got the fern in the winter, which is part of it, I think, with the other one, is that, like, ferns are dormant in the winter, and so it was not happy about being transported to a new place in the first place, and then it was also, like, not doing great to begin with, but Jordan has helped me nurse it back to health and save the fern.
I think it's gonna make it.
The rabbit foot fern that I thought so brashly that I could take care of in my own bedroom I was Icarus. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And, that poor little rabbit foot fern paid the price.
You know, it's gonna just go back to the dirt from whence it came.
Yep. And I will get
we all
another
do,
fern, and it'll live somewhere else.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yes.
Till I get better at...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So what's your dopamine trampoline?
So my dopamine trampoline is a movie about a movie.
Oh, okay. For those of you at home wondering what the dopamine trampoline is, it's a fun little place where after our main segment of the podcast, we go and we talk about things that we like, things that we're into, things maybe we're hyperfixating on or have hyperfixated on in the past. And as you've just now been informed, Jordan is going to talk about a movie within a movie. And
Indeed.
Go.
So this movie is... I feel like we need the little clack.
I know.
The little scene clapper.
Action.
Thing. I don't know what they're actually called.
I know it lives in my brain somewhere, but
yeah.
old Hollywood film tropes live in a very deep, cobwebbed part of my brain,
That's
I think.
okay. Parkour team, if you know what that's called, tell us.
The clicky clack.
Yes. The movie scene start, go, clicky clack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it, actually.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, so I watched a wonderful film lately. I've been trying to watch more documentaries because I like learning things.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm in between shows right now where I'm not like watching through anything regularly. So I have like
perfect time for a documentary.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like to, usually put something on TV when I eat dinner because I can't, I need my hands. I can't read.
Yeah.
I also don't like just sitting by myself in silence. So I
TV.
popped open Netflix, one day, and I was looking through the documentaries and found a delightful, fascinating, tear-jerking at points, confusing historical film about a film
Okay.
called Shirkers.
Okay.
Both the film and the film that the film is about are called Shirkers. And it's a little convoluted, so bear with me. The overarching film is by Sandy Tan, who is a filmmaker from Singapore, about her making a film in her teen years in Singapore called Shirkers. She goes into her childhood, what it was like to grow up at that point in history. I think this was in like the 80s?
Okay.
It's not actually that historical, but...
I mean, that was a while ago now.
It was a bit ago.
That was at least 40 years ago. Wow. In the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting point in Singapore's history, too. But it details her growing up there and being passionate about film and trying to get into the industry, how the industry was changing, what was going on in Singapore. And her writing this film, meeting this film teacher, and he becomes her mentor, and they kind of are trying to navigate that relationship, and he's also producing this film for her and her friends, and it was very much like a community effort. She made it with her friends, like her family was in it. Anyways, it was a community effort, but had a lot of promise. Like, they had a lot of people who were interested in what it was going to be and taking it to film festivals and kind of like skyrocketing her career. And they put a lot into it. They put a lot of time. They put a lot of money. It really strained friendships. And then they filmed it all, and her mentor disappeared.
Oh.
With the footage.
Oh.
And they end up interviewing, like, his ex-wife and some other people who worked with him. And he's just this kind of bizarre mystery guy. And, after that heartbreak, of course, you pour your heart into something like that, and you are excited for what you're making. You're excited for all of the places that this can get you. And then it just disappears.
Yeah.
And, there's the heartbreak of that. And then over the course of, like, the next, 10 years, I want to say, the main filmmaker, Sandy Tan, gets, 2 tapes from him in the mail. Recordings, of him talking.
Yeah.
Instead of, sending a letter. And I think at one point, he sent her, 1 reel of it. So the film is essentially about the journey of everything that went into making this film, Shirkers, and then the fallout and trying to find it.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting story because it's bizarre, but it's also, I think the thing about it that was really moving for me was that it's also kind of a look at the vulnerability of putting your all into something like that, and her spending so much time capturing this part of her life and childhood and then losing that was a really interesting sort of tragedy almost, because you know, that's
can I ask why this gave you dopamine? Because this sounds horrible. It's a horrible thing happened to this girl, now woman, and like cool that she was able to like make something of it now. And I'm interested to hear like how that went, but why did it give you dopamine?
I think the journey of making something new out of it was really interesting, because a lot of people would just go, well, that sucked. Yeah. But having the motivation and the passion to not give up on it and say, like, even if it's not what I wanted it to be, that is something that I put time and love into that I can't get back. It's still important. Like, there's still a story in it to be told, even if it's not the one that I thought it was going to be. And I think that that's a really cool thing to be able to do as an artist. Yeah. And also...
Sorry, I didn't mean for that to be like such a like, well, why do you like it?
No, that's fair. That's a good question.
You've explained it pretty well, I'd say, and it sounds convoluted, and I don't want you to explain anything else because I don't want you to spoil it.
No, that's a fair question.
I think that was more me just being like, okay, cool, we got the gist of it. Why do you like it?
Fair.
And that tracks. Yeah. For like you as an artist as well, I'd say.
And I think the thing, too, that was also like what made me cry is how much of it was about her relationship with her friends and how much of a struggle it was, but how much those people like meant to her even as they changed over the years. And it wasn't always the relationship that they, you know, had when they were close and they were young. But that was so much of what was worth fighting for in finding the original footage. And then in what they are able to find, just like being able to have just a little bit of that moment to keep forever. I thought that was just like very, very touching. Yeah. And it's an interesting story, like even if those aren't the things that move you about it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that dude kicks rocks.
Yeah. You'll have to watch it to find out. Yeah. Yeah, would watch it again.
Nice.
That's what I got.
Great.
Sorry, that was a very convoluted DT from me.
No,
but I don't. Why don't you tell me about your dopamine trampoline?
Well, I was just going to say, so like, barn owls.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about barn owls.
These spooky, scary little birds with their little moon faces. To give some context for this, as a child, I read the Guardians of Gahul series about the owls, and I've always really liked birds of prey. And I know that I've talked about corvids on this podcast, specifically in the past. But birds of prey are birds are they're all fine, whatever. They're cool, they can hang. But birds of prey are usually like raptor type birds are where my heart lies. I also, though, have always had a bit of I don't want to say a fear, but an awe and respect specifically for barn owls. Yeah. Growing up in rural Michigan around a significant amount of barns at different locations, right? It's rare to see them because they're nocturnal. But when you do see them, or when you hear them, or you hear a bunny or a vole or a mouse, like, when you hear it crying and then it stops and then, you know, and you don't hear like the coyotes crying and there's not, so you're like, oh, that was probably an owl, and it's probably also a barn owl, because the barn owl and its various subspecies within the official like scientific name for barn owls is Tyto alba. Ooh. Oh yeah, so Tyto is the Greek word for owl. And then alba is the Latin word for white. So white owl. Okay. Referring to the fact that barn owls are the owls that have the like flat, circular or heart-shaped faces that are all white. Yeah. With the really dark eyes. Yeah. That said, in the wild and in captivity, there are always color variations. So while most barn owls have a white face, or off-white, or ivory, or, you know, gray, there has been some instances of melanistic barn owls that are all black. Oh. So I just want to say, like, it's Tyto alba, which means white owl, but not all barn owls are white.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you've seen a barn owl, a lot of them aren't all white.
Yeah.
They usually have a white or pale underbelly and face, like I said, that's usually like heart-shaped or round with like big, just completely black eyes. And I think they've captured the human imagination collectively for thousands of years because they are one of the most widespread species of bird, if not the most widespread species of bird. They are on every continent except Antarctica.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And barn owls, almost exclusively, they are actually different from other owls, which are in the Strix, have Strix as their first scientific name. So it's like the
Like a different
Tyto
family.
and Strix. Yeah. So there's two main lineages for owls.
Okay.
There's Titanidae is the family, and then the two main types are Tyto alba, aka barn owls, and the various types of barn owls, and then the other kind is Strigidae. So Strix is usually the
abbreviation.
First, yeah.
Okay.
So you have two different types of owls. Barn owls are one type, and if you too read the Guardians of Ga'Hoole books, you know that the main character Soren is a barn owl.
Okay.
And I just have a soft spot from that, and then also growing up with them being just an inherent part of the landscape.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I think we talked about this just a couple of episodes ago of like when we were talking about dissecting things.
Oh yeah,
owl pellets.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people dissect owl pellets. A lot of that is from barn owls because again, they're everywhere. But the thing is that you wouldn't know it because they're nocturnal. And I will say, if owls go out in the daylight, they're often it's called mobbed by other birds. Especially like by like crows, magpies, like corvid type birds, which is like pretty common because it's competing predators.
Yeah,
essentially.
Interesting.
And owls have been known to like eat smaller birds. For instance, barn owls were introduced to Kauai in Hawaii. They were introduced there to help with like rodents, but upsettingly, they have been killing small birds that are local. So it's like, yikes. Which is just, goes to show the danger of just introducing a completely new species, which I'm sure they did like some testing and vetting and stuff, but you just never know how the environment is going to interact. You just don't know how animals are going to interact with one another. But it's this thing called getting mobbed, where like a bunch of birds will like attack an owl while it's like flying out in the sunlight. So owls, if they're out in the daylight, they don't usually like to be. They prefer to sleep during the daylight hours, like other owls too.
Same, honestly.
But yeah, the barn owl in particular, while owls are known for their hooting, cooing type noises, barn owls don't have that ability. Actually, they have like a purr that they can do that can sometimes sound similar to that. Maybe purr's not the right word, but it's like a softer, like, cooier type noise. But usually, barn owls are completely silent, except for, like, small chirps to use to communicate when they're, like, younger or, like, right next to one another. But they're almost completely silent, except for the barn owl screech. Which is that horrifying screeching noise that if you live in a rural area, if you hear that, it's haunting, but it's so cool. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things where it's like, wow, that is a predator that is presumably just spotted and killed something, and it just made an eerie long shriek in the middle of the night and then went off into the distance. Like, excuse me, because the reason they shriek like that is because they use sound to locate things.
Oh,
so
I was
owls
gonna say, wouldn't that like give away your? But
no, it's a form of like echolocation.
Interesting.
Which barn owls have the best hearing out of any other animal on Earth. That, at least from what I'm reading here.
Interesting.
Which barn owls, it makes sense, right? Because you'd think, well, you're looking at a barn owl, it's got like a really smooth round head. Does it even have ears? And that's the thing, is that it has ears, but there's no shaping cones around it or anything. Those ears are completely open, and that's like barn owls can legitimately hear like the tiniest little movements, like from hundreds of yards away. Like it's kind of like how eagles, you know, are known for being able to see really far away.
Yeah.
And it's like they've just been weirdly specifically adapted over time to have really, really good vision.
Yeah.
That's like how barn owls are. They can just
Interesting.
hear really good. And that screech is a form of echolocation because they can like hear the way it like echoes around and like they can pick up on those things. And then also they do have those big coal black eyes.
Yeah.
That can see all in a nocturnal setting.
Yeah. They're pretty famous for those, I feel like.
Yeah, and again, part of the reason they've lived in the human psyche for so long is because of how haunting they look. Just a white face with coal black eyes versus you look at like a screech owl or a great horned owl or a burrowing owl, and they usually have like golden, yellow, orange, you know, like a typical bird eye. Versus barn owls, they just have little black coals. Some of them do have some color in their eyes, I think, in their irises, but most of them have just those fully black eyes like little demons.
God, they do.
And I found a list of like nicknames for barn owls on Wikipedia, and I'm trying to find it because it was so interesting to me. Okay, yeah. The bird is known by many common names that refer to its appearance, call, habitat, or its eerie silent flight. White owl, silver owl, demon owl, ghost owl, death owl, night owl, rat owl, church owl, cave owl, stone owl, monkey-faced owl, hissing owl, hobgoblin or hobby owl, dobby owl, white-breasted owl, golden owl, screech owl, straw owl, barnyard owl, and delicate owl.
Delicate owl. That's charming. That's very
I know,
evocative.
right? I know, right? Also, allegedly, I've never pet a barn owl before. I've only ever, like, held and touched a great horned owl before. It was a baby, so it wasn't like I was holding it. Like, that'd be insane. I think I would talk about that every day for the rest of my life if I were like, yeah, I held a whole adult great horned owl. Like, can I even lift it? I don't know. I don't know how much they normally weigh. Probably not actually that much because it's a bird.
Yeah. Got light bones.
And I'm pretty strong. I'm pretty meaty. But anyways, I've never pet a barn owl, but supposedly they're very soft. And also, I just realized I started describing them physically with, like, the white face and white underbelly and white legs. But they also, like, on the backside, they don't have any, like, tufts or ear tufts or anything like that, like some owls do. It's, like, completely round and smooth. And they usually are, like, a tawny color or a tan or a pale gray. But they also come in, like, dark brown and light brown and silver, and the main thing is that they have like all these little speckles, except for like the main wings that they use to fly. Those have like stripy bands on them, but they're just like a very well camouflaged animal.
Yeah.
For how they hunt and where they usually live.
Yeah. Also, I looked it up, and a great horned owl is like 3 pounds, so I think you could do it.
I guess I could, yeah.
Would still be very proud of that if I
mean, it's just like they're so
cool,
big and
yeah.
cool, and I don't, anyways,
their bones are bubbly.
Their bones are bubbly. Oh, but all that said, apparently barn owls have very soft plumage.
Oh.
Which, I mean, like, when I look at a barn owl, I look at that and I'm like, I would love to pet that smooth little bird.
They do look very soft.
Yeah.
Also, like how their faces look like half an apple. Like you cut an apple down the middle.
Yeah, they have like a very... Well, and the interesting thing about barn owls, though, is like because of the heart-shaped white face that they have and the way that their nose is like elongated down and their beak faces downward, their face almost looks like an interesting, like, uncanny valley human face.
Yeah, I see it.
Which I think is part of the reason that the lore around them is so rich and clearly far-reaching.
Yeah.
But also... I mean, when you look at their faces, like, I feel like a barn owl looks like it just always, like, every time I look at a barn owl face, like, just because they don't have, like, visible pupils, they still seem like very expressive birds to me.
Yeah, they're very...
Like, it's tough for me to not want to anthropomorphize the bird.
Yeah.
So,
they're very expressive.
Yeah. So, Tyto alba. I love barn owls.
They're so cute. I'm looking at pictures of them now.
Yeah. Oh, they are also... barn owls are one of the species that the sexual dimorphism actually is in favor of females. So they're usually a little bit larger than males, which isn't the most uncommon thing in birds and other animals, that the mom is the one usually protecting the babies after a bit. but I just thought that was interesting. And also, female barn owls tend to have more speckling on them,
Oh,
on their plumage.
freckles.
Yeah.
That's so dear. Thank you for taking us to that beautiful, beautiful little barn owl land.
The very occasional foray into the bird room.
Birds are neat.
Birds are neat.
Yeah, I don't have anything to follow up. That was delightful.
Thank you. You know what else is neat besides birds?
What?
Our cats. Let's go hang out with
Let's
them.
go hang out with our cats. All right. This has been, I'm going to start that again when I'm not slapping my legs. This has been Or Learn Parkour from Wholehearted Production Company.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube now. Really any place that cool people listen to podcasts.
Special thanks to Krisha Perito for our cover art design. You can find her at Petal Hop, that's Petalhop, on Instagram, Twitter, and Etsy.
Thank you as well to Tom Rosenthal for our theme song, There Is a Dark Place, off of the album Keep a Private Room Behind the Shop.
You can follow us on the social medias. We are at Or Learn Parkour on Instagram. We are also on our own little website, wearewpc.com.
You can find links to those, as well as links to sources, transcripts, etc., in our episode description.
If you enjoy this podcast and want to hear more, now is a great time to follow or subscribe. Click that button, whatever it is on your pod catcher, so you know when we post. It's every Monday-ish, but we're an ADHD podcast, so click that button, get the alert, save yourself the time and the brain space. You can also, if you want to get extra credit on this assignment, start your own podcast. You can click our Buzzsprout affiliate link in the link in our bio. If you get any paid plan through them, you get a deal, we get a deal. Everybody wins. Isn't that our slogan?
Everybody. I don't remember what it was, honestly. It was a while ago.
Everybody wins.
Everybody
Click the
wins.
button.
Everybody wins. If you're hurt or you're injured in an accident, you call OLP Associates, okay? If you also want to support the show, you could share it with a friend, family member, enemy, what have you. Or if you want to just get right to it, you could give us some fucking money. Donate to our Ko-Fi. You can find a link to that on our Instagram or on our website.
You sure can. All right. If you could be any kind of bird, what kind of bird would you be?
That's tough. I feel like probably a crow.
I can see it.
No, a magpie.
It's a very good bird. I feel like they have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they're kind of bullies. So I feel like I'd fit in. Just a little bit of an asshole.
You're not a bully. You just get what you want.
What about you?
Puffin.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Good. Okay.
All right. I'm Jordan.
The puffin.
I'm Jordan the Puffin.
And I'm Lex the magpie.
And this has been Or Learn Parkour. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
I wanna